I know what you're thinking. Is his tie blue and black or white and gold? Moron! Last week, I presented my review of one of the most revered cult classic horror films of all time, Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 2. To refresh your memories a bit, I gave that film an 11 score. Pretty damn good for a campy horror film shot on a shoestring budget. Tonight's film was shot on a budget of $17 million. That's about $12 million more than last week's film. Does more money mean a better film? We'll find out. Here's your damn rant show, folks. Greetings, and welcome to Film Rants, doing for movie reviews what the Necronomicon Ex Mortis did for literature. I'm your host, E. Adam Thomas, and tonight's film is the 2013 remake of Sam Raimi's classic 1981 horror film, The Evil Dead. Jane Levy stars as Mia, a young woman whose friends have taken it upon themselves to help her overcome her demons, mainly the death of her mother and her addiction to drugs. Only to find a metric fucking assload of new demons that make those look like a pile of unsold Girl Scout cookies. The basic plot is the same. Spooky cabin, evil book, trees with a rape fetish. But they take the film in a new direction, first off by not using any of the same characters. No Ash, no Linda. I made the decision before watching this film that I was not just going to be a prick and hate it just because it was not the Evil Dead that I was used to. Well, in the first 20 or so minutes after I watched the film, I really wanted to hate it. Mainly because I had recently rewatched Evil Dead 2 for last week's show, and it did take me a few minutes to remind myself that the first Evil Dead film was not made as a comedy. It was meant to be scary, and at times it was. But it largely became such a fan favorite because of its low-tech effects and approach, and because of the relative inexperience of the filmmakers and the actors, including Bruce Campbell. Taken at its own merits, though, the new Evil Dead, while being more successfully dark and scary than the 1981 original, misses so many marks in technique. Many of the scares are almost textbook modern scare tactics.
You are all going to die tonight.
As much as they were doing their best to honor Sam Raimi, influences from Rob Zombie and Eli Roth kept creeping through like unintentional in-jokes even they didn't realize they were making. In and of itself, it's not a bad horror movie, but they slapped the name Evil Dead on it, thereby increasing the level of expectation for this film. Now, I'm not going to say I hate this film, like I hate Emmerich and Devlin's 98 version of Godzilla, but there is an aspect of this comparison that is important. In the 98 Godzilla, they wanted to reinvent an iconic figure. So they took him out of Japan, they made him a mutation of a contemporary species instead of a resurrected dinosaur, and they made him killable. Basically, they made a Godzilla with absolutely none of the important attributes that made the original character so iconic. He didn't even have flame breath. They kinda did the same thing here, but thankfully to a lesser extent. They had the important things like the book, the intonations, and the possessions. I just honestly feel they convoluted it too much with the human drama. The original Evil Dead was just a bunch of kids trying to have some fun, get drunk, get laid, and try not to get arrested. There was no intervention or anti-drug message or anything like that. What the film was missing, though, is the sense of fun. Watching the original Evil Dead, you get the sense that this was a crime of passion, that they were actually having a ball trying to come up with the most fucked up shit they could think of to put on film. It was a film that generated lasting friendships and launched 3 careers, at least. I don't want to be a dick. Well, okay, that's a flat-out lie. I fucking love being a dick. But I honestly don't get the sense on this film that anything special is happening behind the scenes. The actors learned their lines, turned in some really nice performances here and there. The cast and crew got paid. Bam! End of story. I will say one thing though. If this movie has any standout performer, it is hands down Jane Levy. Her character goes through some pretty fucked up transitions, from emo junkie to train-spotting style withdrawals to demonic possession, murderous, and then finally rugged, triumphant heroine. Not that the other actors were altogether bad, it's just that you kind of get the sense that this lady really worked her ass off for this movie. Jane, trust me, it shows. One other little note here. The one thing I did notice, as gorgeous a nod as to the original Evil Dead 2, is the rapid tracking shots through the woods and the building montage. Now in this film, it's a makeshift defibrillator instead of mounting a chainsaw onto a severed limb, but it was still a nice little nod to the original, to Evil Dead 2. Rantometer time. For artistic, I'm giving it a 2. Because it really does overuse a lot of familiar cinematic tricks and styles that become way too cliche in modern horror films. Coolness? Well, I'm going to shock some folks here and give it a 5. Because for all its faults, I have to admire how deftly they handled all of the nods to the original Evil Dead films, from Ash's rusted out car to one-hand chainsaw dueling. Originality? I can only give it a 1. Because for a new take on a classic horror film, I really expected them to bring a lot more to the table. Suckitude gets a 2. Because they missed too many opportunities for intense scares, and because almost none of the humor, intentional or otherwise, was evident. That gives the 2013 version of Evil Dead a total of 6. I wish I could give it more, but there you go. Like I said last week, some horror films just need to revel more in not taking themselves so fucking seriously. Think I suck? Think I'm an asshole? Think I should be banished to the 7th layer of hell, or whatever level is appropriate for people who rudely review films? I don't know. Tell me so. You know the drill. Comment below. Hashtag me on Facebook or Twitter using the hashtag FilmRantsEAT. Or email my opinionated fucking ass at filmrantseat@cox.net. Next week, we'll start a 2-part set of shows regarding my most and least favorite Stanley Kubrick movies. And I'm not telling which movies they are, so yeah. Until next time, Klatu, Verada, Hakuna Matata, bitches. Angry Men Reviews. Many fucks said, no fucks given. Like my new desk? It's the same old desk, I just put some contact paper on it. Wow! Professional production values! Yay!